what you should try to do is be exceptional in work and exceptional in home, right? Be exceptional in both.
Hello there, it's me, Steve Mellor, and welcome in to GrowthReady, the podcast that allows high performers to reveal the reality behind what it means to ready yourself for growth, the personal and professional challenges along the growth journey, while also allowing the high performance executive coach in me to satisfy his curiosity toward what drives optimal performance. On this episode, we welcome in founder of the virtual financial planning firm One Oak Financial, Mike Milligan. And Mike helps us see that it's not only your finances where you can benefit from keeping the end in mind, as this outlook toward growth helps us put greater value on our time so that we are ready to achieve anything, even if we can't get around to doing everything. Hey guys, as we get started here with the episode, I want to just take 1 minute of your time to make a request for you to subscribe and rate the show. For our show to be easily discovered by other potential listeners, we need our current listeners, that's you, to take the time to not only subscribe, but to also rate the show. Whether you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, whatever platform of choice, there are typically ways to be rating the show. So go ahead and click something like that 5th star and be sure to take that additional time to leave a comment or two about why it is you enjoy listening to the GrowthReady podcast. Your efforts on this will allow our show to be more discoverable, which means we're going to find more listeners and continue to have that significant impact on the community of human performance and personal development that I know you are all benefiting from by being listeners to this show. Please go ahead, take the time, subscribe, rate the show today. Hey, and while you're at it, why don't you share it with a few people as well? I appreciate you guys. Let's get to the interview. Hello there, and welcome back into the most recent installment of the GrowthReady podcast. I am delighted to be welcoming in Mike Milligan today, and he's joining us from Norfolk, Virginia. I was looking forward to maybe getting a bit of a Puerto Rico backdrop because I know you've got places there too, Mike. But hey, listen, I'll settle for simply just having you on the show. That's more than good enough for me. But listen, Mike, before we go any further, as I do with all of my guests, I want to ask you as we get started, what does it mean to you to be growth ready?
It means that I'm living, to be honest with you. I find your question to be very fascinating. But like, to me, living is growth. If you are not, there's points and times where we all kind of, just life throws things at us and we're just kind of treading water. But in really tough times, treading water is still growth. But to me, just living, just always looking for the next idea or the next great relationship or deepening relationships I already have. It is that to me is what being growth ready is. It's the next breath. It's finding purpose in everything we're doing every day.
I mean, even going as granular as the next breath, I really appreciate you getting that specific with us. And the insight around treading water, I think we're going to certainly touch on that. Probably what I'm most drawn to about your response is the acknowledgement of when we talk about life in general, we really do start to acknowledge just how little is in our control. There are things we can gain control of, but in that response there, I'm just curious, Mike, like when you reference life in general, how much of that are you putting down to the notion of the controllables versus maybe the things not so much in our control?
Well, it comes down to I have really two basic philosophies of life and of business, to be perfectly honest, Steve. One is I think that you have to be one of a kind. And the other is that you never miss a moment. See, I think many of us, I'm 48 years old. I turned 49 in just a few days. I think a lot of us just let life pass us by because we're not in the moment. We're not paying attention. We are we don't we're there to we're not there to really listen to the people we're here with. And I want to be present where I am and realize that when I'm not present, I can't control the other stuff. And so like this whole idea of being one of a kind is one that I've learned over my life is we are unique. Every single person has a unique quality about who they are. If you don't realize that, if you don't embrace that, and you try to be somebody else, well, then you're robbing the earth of what you were meant to be here to do. And I mean, we're all different. Some of us are meant to be CEOs. Some of us are meant to be, work in government. Some of us are meant to, be moms or be dads only, right? Some of us are meant to be pro athletes.
Right.
But like, if you don't do what you're meant to do and embrace your uniqueness, then the world is missing out on who you are.
When you look at your life as a whole now, at this juncture, when did you get to that point where you're able to say, okay, there was this crystallizing, or maybe there was just this period of time where you were able to simply acknowledge and see that everything that you just alluded to there is the case, that we are unique and that we do need to look at ourselves in many ways as one of a kind?
Well, I can point, I should not be where I am today. I mean, just if you really dive back and look at like my background, I was born and raised in a small town in North Carolina. When I was coming through the education system in North Carolina, the public school system in the town I was in was the 100th ranked school system in the state. There's only 100 school systems in the state. In the nation, the United States, our state was the 50th ranked state in education. There's only 50 states. So literally, I got the worst education that, by any metrics that were being published at the time. And I also grew up in what, I didn't know this at the time, but now I know it. I grew up in extreme poverty. And yet through just noticing what was around me, right? I mean, I have vivid memories of being with my grandmother, my grandfather, and my mom, and different situations, and interacting with adults early on, and things that are just like, when you really deeply think about them, you're like, holy cow, right? That was really cool to be 7 years old and opening a Miller High Life for my uncle, right? But like when you realize that, and then you just go through life and you start embracing the unique moments that happen. And then where it really crystallized was in 2021. It comes for some people in tragedy. It comes through others in celebration or being acknowledged. For me, it came through tragedy because I had a brother who he and I used to talk about being unique. I mean, like he and I were close, but he was genuinely unique. But he passed away. He got into a car accident, and it's one of those things that through the tragedy I realized that if I don't fully embrace my uniqueness, who I am, and if I don't do that in business and in relationships with my family and with friends, then I'm wasting my life, because his life was cut short at the age of 41. Now, he lived a full life, from birth to 41. The dude lived a life, right? He lived more of a life in 41 years than most people who live to 100 ever live. But I've embraced that. I embrace it in the company that I run. I embrace it in my life. My wife and I now. You mentioned Puerto Rico earlier.
Yeah.
You mentioned you were hoping to see some sites in Puerto Rico. We live in Puerto Rico. We literally have moved there and spend most of our time there. I just come back to the corporate headquarters from time to time. You just happen to get me on the coast in Virginia today.
Yeah, but and again, it's always hard to hear that these life lessons come through tragedy, and it's a big part of the mission behind the show. Quite honestly, Mike, is for us to hear a story like yours, to acknowledge just the difficulty and the tragedy of you having to go through something like that, to have this awareness now. But at the same time, we hope that through these conversations that we can inspire and motivate people to not wait for the tragedy, to simply understand that everything that you're speaking to shouldn't necessarily be dependent on having to have these tragedies happen to us first in order to get the lesson. And something that I would love to just better understand now is the growth of the business and the growth of yourself, maybe even through the business too, because not only are you true to this notion of one of a kind, you have a business named after it. It's all about being one of a kind. And so you live the life, you work the life of what it means to be one of a kind. And I'm glad to have now gotten a little bit more understanding of maybe some of the origin around this name. But talk to us a little bit about what this business is that you run today, but at the same time, really the unique components of it, because here we are speaking on this notion of unique ability, and I think it's a great topic for us to address in this discussion. So talk to us a little bit about the business, talk to us a little bit about the unique qualities around it too.
Well, we've taken something that people need, right? Financial advice. And we've our financial services business is called One Oak Financial. One oak. A lot of people, times they hear oak, they think about a tree, right? Or they even picture like an acorn growing into the tree that then can withstand 100, 150 years. Our One Oak stands for one of a kind. So one of a kind financial. My wife, who is absolutely hilarious, right? She's just the best comic yet to be discovered in the world. Yeah. Said that, you should have named the company OK Financial, just OK, right? And I was like, why? She goes, because the O and the A in of a kind are like redundant. And I said, babe, could you imagine if somebody was a client of OK Financial? Well, I'm just okay. And she goes, no, you're right. And she goes, one of a kind is much better, because unfortunately, like in the financial system, one size fits all is what most big companies want to profit off of. We want to literally find the unique people who don't fit the mold of traditional financial advice, who want to live something that's more unique and custom for you, and then build the custom one-of-a-kind financial plan for them. I wrote the book about that. It's been released on Amazon and it's in bookstores all around. But the one-of-a-kind financial plan is about you, your uniqueness, and that your financial plan should embrace the life you want to live, not the life that the advisors or Wall Street or Main Street want you to live.
I love that. And for me, what I've come to find is that in this world of executive coaching now, in this sort of this next chapter of my life, I have a few clients, currently in the financial world. And there's this theme in that world in terms of the clients that you work with, which is very apparent to this podcast. And it's that of risk aversion. It's this notion of folks don't like to take risks. People don't like to take risks. As humans, we've literally been evolved to not take risks, to avoid them at all costs. And yet so much of the world that you operate in is pigeonholed in this, like, oh, there's a lot of risk, right? There's a lot of risk associated with that. So just from a behavioral standpoint, I would love just to really explore that with you a little bit here in terms of how you navigate risk and the behavioral instincts that we as humans have to resist the temptation to step into so-called risk.
So, Steve, I mean, this is a conversation needs to be had. Like, this is a conversation that I hope people just dive into this for themselves personally.
Right.
Because one of the things I tell people, like when I'm getting to know them for the first time, especially financial, is I say, let's think about the end. Think about the end first. And the thing that we all have in common is that we are going to die. There's no disputing that fact.
Right.
So now, when you're at death's door, what are the things you wish you would have done in life? Like, go ahead, think about those now. And most people are going to think about being 92 years old, laying in a bed, surrounded by their family, and with all these magical dreams that come up about, for some people it's traveling around the world. Like for me and my wife, it's touching every continent as many times as we possibly can. Like we want to jump in the water in Antarctica, right? We want to do the same thing in Australia and New Zealand, right? We want to do, those are our last two big adventures, but we want to do those. So that's for some people. So I have this conversation with people. Think about what the end. Think about and then I say, okay, then the second part of that is at the end. Now think about your legacy. So legacy is, to me, it's, Macklemore said it in a song, or he said it one time, it's like the day you die, but then the day your name is spoken for the last time.
Yeah.
Right. And so that time period, I mean, there's a reason people like George Washington and Winston Churchill and Adolf Hitler and Gandhi and Jesus Christ, they're still spoken thousands of years, hundreds of years, to thousands of years after they've gone. It's because of the legacy they left behind. Mike Milligan is not going to have a 2,000-year legacy. I know that. But I would love to have a 150-year legacy, right? And how I do that is I start perpetuating like my grandmother's legacy. Like she's been gone now for 5 years, but my hope is that through my kids and my grandkids and my great-grandkids, they still remember her. So you're asking like, in the end, like to me, I think if you start with the end in mind, it makes the living today part a whole lot easier, because then if you think with the end in mind and you realize that you're not promised tomorrow, you're not promised 2 days from now or 2 years from now or 20 years from now, you get busy and you get busy fast.
Yeah, it is this, what I'm hearing is like this future self, this future state, the more clear we can be with that, the more granular we can get with that. Suddenly now, when we step into the present day and we say, okay, this all seems risky, some of those risks suddenly seem a little, more tempting, let's say, to sort of step into, because it's like, well, if I have any chance, any hope of getting to this visual that I have for the finish, or this visual that I have for the end, whatever you want to call it, what does that mean for the actions that I take today, right?
It does.
Yeah.
It also helps you say no to some things also.
Right.
I mean, we can do anything that we want in life. There's literally, this is what I've realized coming from a trailer in North Carolina is I can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't do everything.
Right.
And so with the end in mind, and you clearly laying out a vision for your life, you literally can do anything. Just say no to the stuff that doesn't excite you, that doesn't move you, that's not going to help you build your legacy, that's important to the people that are around you. Just say no to that stuff. Mm-hmm. We get, this. We get, there's a lot of executive coaches and coaching programs in the world that want us to 10 times and 20 times and 50 times and 100 times, right?
Right.
Let's be for real. That's not for everybody.
Right.
It's not. Some people would be would be really happy just 2 timings where they are, being 2 times better than they are in life. Yeah. Some people would be happy exactly where they are. Mm-hmm. We just got to meet people where they are, take them where they want to go, and ultimately help. This whole risk conversation is, if you really define what the end is, then is it really a risk?
Right.
At that point.
Exactly, and I think what I really appreciate about that insight is we're almost redefining what it means to take a risk, right, and I think that sometimes we get blindsided by we hear a word or we look at a situation and we allow that word, we allow that situation to drive the decisions that we then make. So if we don't do some of this work around, okay, what would it mean to actually take a risk, or what is the actual decision I'm having to make right now? If we don't go a little further with that work, then we let the risk win. We let the difficult decision win, as opposed to leaning in that little bit more, going far, far beyond the risk and the decision to make in this very moment right now, and bringing all of this powerful visualization into the future, into the present. And I am curious, though, because I think this is a very important question to ask, is that a couple of episodes ago, we actually spoke about the idea of saying yes more. And now we have someone coming on and saying we need to learn how to say no from time to time. And this is what I love about the show. This isn't about who's right and wrong. This is about just ideas and notions around what it means to grow and what works for you and what doesn't work for you. But I'm curious, how do you personally how have you gotten yourself to start saying no more? Because there's a discipline involved in that. So I'm just curious, like, where did Mike start in this journey of learning how to say no?
Well, it's the constant battle Mike faces in his life. Is I don't say no to enough. So like, for instance, there's some people that definitely need to say yes more. There's some people who are stuck, right? Who are paralyzed, and they need to say yes more. But they're like me, like in the busyness of my life, I need to say no more, because like I need to say no more to the things that don't hit my 5. I have 5 major life goals. And like, if they touch one of those 5, I go for them all the time. But it's interesting. The more successful you become, the more people start to learn about who you are, then the more they start pinging on you. And, you've got to stay true to what is moving the needle for you personally. I say no to a lot. I do say no to a lot. But again, I could say no to more. And if I said no to a more, it allows me to dive deeper in the things that bring me fulfillment. And like, if I'm being fulfilled, I am really impacting the community. We have this thing in the financial community, when we talk to people about budgets, right? When they're doing like a financial budget, we always tell people to pay themselves first. Right? You pay yourself first, then you have some money for fixed expenses, variable expenses, and leave yourself a margin. That's a very basic budgeting strategy. Yeah. But we never tell people with their time to use time first for you, because people would say, then you're being selfish.
Yeah.
Right? But here's the thing, right? If you're being selfish to be able to impact other people, to grow a business that's going to solve problems for other people, right? I mean, was Steve Jobs selfish? Probably, right? But Steve Jobs helped create the iPhone that has revolutionized how we communicate and how we operate our lives. It's okay to be selfish. Yeah. It's okay to say no. But I can't wait to go back and listen to your podcast about your guest who said say yes more, because I want to hear like that side of the story too. But I'm not right. I'm not right 100% of the time. Like, just for me though, I have to say no more to be able to go do the things I want to do.
And it's all contextual, and I so appreciate you going into that for us, because here you are owning, hey, me personally, I got to learn how to say no. But when I look at so many of my clients, when I look at this sort of paralysis analysis that exists within the financial planning world, these are folks that could stand to say yes once in a while. And it's all about the lane of your life that you're currently living, wherever you are, or the season of life that you're currently in right now. I'm right there with you from a business owner standpoint. In the last 4 years, my company, I've gone from knocking on people's doors to begging them to talk to me, to now having to learn how to say, I don't have enough time for everybody anymore. And that's the season of life that I'm in now, where I've had to learn how to say no. And this is difficult for a guy that spent the majority of his life pleasing people and trying to get them to, and trying to say yes to everyone. But there's certainly other areas in my world where I need to learn how to say yes. And so it's all contextual, but we have to explore this notion of putting such a value on your time to where you start to see it the same way you would maybe see your money. Because one of my favorite sayings to say to clients is that you will always be the easiest person to cancel on. You are always the easiest person to cancel on. If you make an hour for yourself, but then somebody else wants that hour from you, you will immediately take that hour from yourself and give it to somebody else. The question is, if somebody else needed a month of your salary, would you just throw it to them the same way you would throw your time? So I want to really just explore this a little bit more with you now, because when you are personally looking at this balance sheet of time in your world, talk to us about the importance of those areas that you alluded to before. You have these 5 pillars, these 5 sort of areas of your life where you want, like, what role is that playing in your ability then to maybe uphold more effectively the way you're using this time?
Well, I always tell people that if you are fully committed to something, you're going to give a full-time effort to it, and then some, right? There's somebody that I talk to a lot that will say that work-life balance is not a real thing, right? You cannot perfectly balance. Now, what you should try to do is be exceptional in work and exceptional in home, right? Be exceptional in both. And if you're exceptional in work and you're not exceptionally and not exceptional in being on, working on your health or working on your relationships, where you're leaving something behind in the context of where life should go. I find that it's that in truly high achieving people who are trying to solve problems, trying to build something that they see as unique, that they're not having enough conversations with people who have either done it before, and really what I mean by who've done it before, who's failed before, right? Because like, in all truth, right? I've failed a whole lot more in my life than I've succeeded. Now, I fail also like in the 5 pillars of my life. I fail like that I fail in those like on a daily basis. I don't fail on like a weekly and a monthly basis, but in a daily basis, I do fail in those almost every day. And part of the failure is there is always something on my work list that I don't get to every day.
Sure.
Because if I stayed until the end of the day to check off everything on my work list, I wouldn't be married much longer, right? I wouldn't be able to reach out to my kids and connect with my adult kids. I wouldn't be able to go walk or exercise because literally I could fill up a work schedule 50 hours a day, right? But you have to leave some things undone. You just have to prioritize what's the most important, what's not. And in the seasons of times, on my 5 pillars, there are some of those things. It's not like they're 5 pillars holding up a roof, right? And like if you let one, the roof's going to fall. No, my pillars are consistently growing, and so like, and my roof is like unlimited from that standpoint. And like so, like right now, the pillar that's relating to my work and growth, there's getting a little bit more attention than like like the health pillar. I'm like in maintenance phase on the health side.
Right.
But as long as you understand them and that doesn't become your ritual, your daily habits for long periods of time, you're fine. You just got to get back in balance at some point.
Yeah. And there's so much there to help folks hear back in the sense of, I think we do have this, firstly, the idea of being exceptional as opposed to finding balance. Suddenly we're now talking about what does a standard look like? What does a standard for performance look like versus this notion of finding balance? I'm right there with you just in terms of finding agreement here. Like, I don't think there is such a thing as work-life balance. I really don't. It sounds really flashy on the surface, but this notion of actually having exceptional standards to uphold day in, day out and assessing ourselves against those, that is something I'm signing up for. That is something I work daily with my own clients, is this notion of what passes for success today versus what maybe falls beneath that standard. So there's a part of that there too, but going a little further with that, it's the notion of the micro versus the macro, right? It's just like, so if we have these sort of this micro assessment on a day-to-day basis versus this macro assessment, and we're pushing out, we can start to now say, okay, on a micro level, what did I maybe leave out today? What did I miss today? And what can I make sure I bring up and do tomorrow? So we're learning from that so-called failure versus, hey, if we're falling short across all 5, if we have 5 pillars in our life, on a macro level, if we're just not hitting the standard that we need to be every single month that goes by, then we've got some real work to do around that, because suddenly these pillars don't really stand for much if that's the case. And so I am curious, whenever someone references these sort of more day-to-day approaches, is there anything that you're practicing on a day-to-day basis that allows you to maybe just create more awareness of how you do and sometimes how you maybe don't follow to the standard that you need to?
If we want to get really granular on the micro side, like I wake up at the same time every day. I eat the same breakfast every day. I wear like this blue shirt that I'm wearing today. I wear it every day. I don't wear the same one, but I have like 20 of them.
Right.
It just shows up well on camera. It shows up well when I'm out. I have about 20 different pair of Nike Air Force Ones, and I just wear a different one every day, right? And I wear jeans. Yeah. And like wealthy people, I read something one time. If you're in a boardroom and everybody's in a suit, and there's one guy in a T-shirt in there, that's the guy you got to impress. Right. And I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to wear a T-shirt every day. But I also realize is that I don't have to wear a suit and tie every day to create a company that's multi 7 figures. Right. I don't have to do that. To me, it's like the opening part of the day, the micro details of the opening part of the day set the tone for me. Right. So if I can just automate quick decisions every day when I wake up, then there's less like a failure. Like, oh yeah, great. It's clean. Let's go. Make the bed. Boom, go. And those little things just set me up for success every day. And like if you have 10 or 12 or 20 of those before you get going every day, 20 of those little micro wins that happen, boy, you're ready to kind of accelerate. Because I mean, there's some days, right, that you wake up and you're like, man, I don't have the I don't have enough egg whites to go with this egg, right? And man, I'm not going to get the protein. So instead of having 27 grams of protein, I'll have 22, right? And your mind is just this dangerous thing that'll start playing with you. So you all of a sudden, like, I'm 5 grams of protein short to start my day, and man, today's already a failure. No. So I cut that stuff out of my life, right? And so I just win. I wake up and I win, right? Yeah. And by winning. And winning's not a bad thing, Steve, and that's what people need to realize. You can have these personal wins in your life. Winning is not a bad thing, right? And so, those are the micro things I do. And then there's not a lot of room in my schedule in a day to kind of get behind or have something come up. And like the people closest to me know that, like my wife, my kids, I have a couple of assistants. They know I don't have a lot of time in my day to like react to something. So they're very good at holding it, and they know when they can get me. Now they know that if they need me for something emergency, they know how to call the bat phone, right? They know how to get to me. But they're also very good about, they know, and the reason they hold it is because they know when I'm there, I'm there. Yeah. Right. Like when I show up to home, I am home. I am not 20% there. I'm not 50% there. When I show up at the house, 100% my attention is given all the time. And I think that's pretty important, especially when you're trying to be really exceptional at multiple things.
Yeah. And it's this notion of protecting the time. We are all wonderful at making the time. We make the time all the time. We put it on our schedule again, like I said before, but then we cancel on ourselves, or we get out of the routine, we get out of the habits. How much of a protection are you creating around some of these habits and daily wins? And I do want to, something and listeners have given me this feedback from time to time, and so I'm going to try to listen to the feedback right now, because you use this term exceptional. And I think sometimes it's really important just to explore the subjective way that maybe you're looking at a term like that. We've used a term like success in this discussion so far too. These words, when left to their own devices, they don't necessarily serve people so well, because it's like, well, what does it mean to be successful? What does it mean to be exceptional? And so I'm just even curious right there, Mike, like when you look at an exceptional day or an exceptional effort or showing up exceptionally, what does that standard look like? How you may be, just from your perspective, assessing what it means to be exceptional?
Well, we all want to put quantitative things to like measurements like that, because it's the culture we live in, right? Like when 2 teams play football, there's a winner and a loser. When 2 teams play, when there's a tennis match, there's a winner and a loser. And we're trying to get in, like, the media, right, wants you to announce that you've won. But like, to me, exceptional is at the end of the day, do I feel like I accomplished my mission, right? My mission is to be one of a kind and never miss a moment. That's mine. And so like, there's nothing, I think I read a quote somewhere, and I'm going to get this totally wrong. Like, but if everybody's exceptional, is there really anybody special? It's something, that whole theme, right? If everybody is great, well, does that mean nobody is really great? No, it means, like, to me, in my world, right, there'll be people who listen to this podcast, Steve, that I will never meet. I'll never have the opportunity to interact with them, right? We should not compare ourselves to each other, because we're totally different, right? That's the uniqueness that I'm talking about. So it's almost like this whole idea of being uniquely exceptional, right, for who you are. I mean, some people have 3 kids at home, and they're listening to this while they're trying to make dinner, right? Other people are struggling because they don't have enough money in their checking account to make payroll at their company, and they're wondering, how in the heck am I going to keep this business going? Well, there's other people who are multimillionaires who may be listening to this on a yacht somewhere out in the middle of the Mediterranean. Who knows? But the thing about that is exceptional is a very personal thing. And what we always want to do is we always want somebody else's validation, right? For are we exceptional? And the only person that really should be answering the question, and this is what I've learned, right? I've not always lived this way.
Yeah.
Right. But what I've learned is that the only measure of if you're exceptional is, do you feel exceptional? Right. And not did somebody else make you feel exceptional? Not did somebody else make you feel successful, but do you feel exceptional? And if you don't feel that way, man, you may need to find some other way to spend your time, right? Yeah. Don't find value in other people's opinion of you, right? Because you've seen the movie The Greatest Showman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when people watch that movie, they get these warm and fuzzy feelings about about how life is, right? And it's really a feel-good story, right? There's failure, right? But I mean, think about the characters in there, like, the bearded woman, right? Yeah. The little general who's did not win on the genetic side in life.
Right.
But those people, when they come together, they're truly exceptional. Like finding your community, they found their community in the movie. They didn't know it's a Hollywood movie, and right. But I mean, some of that element is true because the circus is a real thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, you just have to find your community and find what gives you passion and what wakes you up every day, and like what is powerful in your life, and then you start measuring exceptional in your own terms.
Yeah, I didn't have discussing Greatest Showman on the bingo card for this discussion today, but I'm so glad that we did, mainly because it's a Mellor household favorite for sure. But at the same time, I think there's a point that you're getting to here, man. It's like it's so that question of, do I feel exceptional? That is not an easy question for a person to ask, because it's really scary. To everything that you're alluding to is this idea, if I actually am willing to ask myself that question, I have to be willing to answer it too. And if I don't like that answer, suddenly now asking the question in the first place doesn't quite seem as appealing. I would much rather maybe avoid the question entirely. And it's something I joke about a lot when I do speeches. I say to folks, you think the shorter the question, the easier the answer, right? But I've found it's the other way around. It's like when you ask someone a short, very simple question, like, do you feel exceptional? Typically that is met with a great pause before anybody actually says anything. But anyone listening to this show, this is the beauty of our audience. You listen to a show like this because you're willing to ask the difficult questions. And so I want you to hear that question. And if you have an ounce of hesitation in how you respond, then that's where the work begins. The decision for you to make in this moment is, hey, if I can't speak and answer that question with total clarity right now with a definitive yes, then what's keeping me from saying yes? And I think that right there, I'd like to get your opinion on that, Mike. Like that right there is just to say, like, hey, maybe that's an easier way to sort of ask the question initially. It's just like, you know what is it that's keeping me from feeling exceptional right now, as opposed to just getting scared by the black and white component of yes or no? Like, what is it that's keeping me from feeling exceptional in this moment? Yeah.
Well, one thing that has helped me get to the point where I am is I'm not here to like promote anything or one particular thing, but like I have a therapist that I went to. Yeah. Right? Some people need to go to a coach. Some people just need a best friend to go talk to.
Yeah.
But I often find that like if you don't feel like you're exceptional, if you feel like you're struggling with something and you continue to hold on to it, right? And then it's just going to pile up on you. And then ultimately the stress is just going to make you feel like you're not worthy of anything. You need to let it out. And you need to let it out in a safe space where you're not being judged. Social media is not the place to put that, by the way.
Right.
It's there's too many times where an anonymous person can react to something, right? And you don't even know who they are. You have no real relationship. That's why you need to get in real community. I'm real fearful. Like I have a young adult kids. Yeah. And I tell them this all the time, that if you get so engrossed by social media, you're going to miss the art of human connection. And the art of human connection is what really is going to light you up. It's going to be people that are going to be there, like in the middle of the night when you are on the side of the road and you have a flat tire and you call somebody. Social media is not coming to help you. right? That's why you have to have some, somebody have some social connection. Like to me, people who are struggling with this whole idea, they need to have someone they could talk to. And it's okay, right? To have to, and by the way, some people find this in church. They find it in organized religion. Some people find it in like their workplace. Some people find it through hiring a coach, some through a therapist. But you have to have some outlet to be able to explore, right? To just lay bare who you are, no judgment, and then come back. How can you fix it? The greatest athletes in the world. I was just watching just recently, right? Like Leslie Odom Jr. just went back to Hamilton. I bet you didn't have that on your bingo card either, right?
No, I didn't. No.
Right. So he just went back to Hamilton, right? Yeah. And like on his first day back, like he wakes up and he's like portraying his day on social media. And like a couple hours before, he literally went to see his voice coach. Do you know how many times he's played that role over and over again? How great his voice is. And he literally went to go see his voice coach before he went back on stage. If that doesn't tell you that we all need people in our life that will just fine tune us without judgment and put us in a better place. I mean, there's thousands of examples of how exceptional people, still have people in their life to either give validation or tune them up to kind of get them to the next level.
It's such an important addition to that point of pursuing what it means to be exceptional. Because again, you've gotten the idea now from a conversation that two people are having around the topic of what it means to be exceptional, or how we maybe define what it means to be exceptional, and let that be the example right there. Like we've come to an understanding here, maybe between you and I and our experiences of what it means to be exceptional. But I think if we press stop on this and you and I just kept talking about the topic of being exceptional from your perspective and my perspective, we would see things a little differently in certain places.
Yep.
And we would have a lot of agreements in other places. But because we've had a conversation about it, you and I's perspective on what it means to be exceptional will be improved and impacted for that. And like, so we are demonstrating in this very moment, your point is this power of having a conversation like this. We're very pro therapy on this. I talk about my therapy journey a lot on this show. Over the past 9 years, I've now been doing therapy. And so for me, so much of my own journey has been based around a guy, a former athlete who was very all or nothing about life, that realized that the all or nothing mindset won't necessarily serve him long term. And so with you and your journey, Mike, I love that so much of this work originated from something like a path in therapy, whereas now you've been able to build a relationship with yourself where you can be holding yourself accountable to so many of these different ideals. And I just want to, as we start to wrap up here, I really want to just ask you now, for anybody who's listening to this that's just sort of thinking, when it comes to me pursuing some of these things which you've alluded to that aren't bad, so winning, being selfish, maybe not being exceptional, maybe it's okay that you're not exceptional, to at least to begin with, and you can aspire to it. For you, when you look at your journey, whether it be something like therapy, whether it be something about your community, or maybe just something specific to yourself, what was it, or what is it maybe today that allows you just to keep staying disciplined and keep staying focused when you think about pursuing these parts of your world that clearly are serving you, and I know could be serving many others?
So I'm a very firm believer in writing things down.
Mm-hmm.
I keep a journal. It's not exhaustive, right? Nobody's ever going to grab my journal and go write a book off of it, right? That's not like what I mean by journaling. It's like just little checkpoints for myself, right? And so like on the checkpoints every day, if I hear a quote that I think I ever want to remember in the future, I write it down. I'll write down like if I feel like I wasted an opportunity, like I have two things, never miss a moment, be one of a kind. If I feel like I wasted an opportunity, I write it down. Yeah. And then like every week, I have an appointment on my schedule every week with myself. It's Sunday morning. It's like when I wake up on Sunday morning, I go back and I just go back this last 7 days.
Yeah.
And I just look and I said, okay, did I miss a moment this week? What did I leave unfinished? And like the more things that are left unfinished, it just shows me that they're not part of my passion. right? If I'm continuing to do what I need to do financially for my family and my business and drive it forward, yet there's some things that just there, I just don't need to be doing that. So like to me, like writing it down is a key component for me, and then setting a little bit of time. And I mean, it's not a lot of time, right? It's normally is 10 or 15 minutes, right, on a Sunday morning, but it's a discipline that I've had. And it's just, I know that Sunday mornings I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do this. So I mean, that's my check-in.
I love that. And for me, like you've pitched it to us here in a way where you make it so much more realistic. That 10 or 15 minutes a week. You know, we're great at making a to-do list for the week ahead. What's the post version of that? So the pre-week, it's like, hey, this is everything I got to take care of this week. Get it all down. That's awesome. Do you have the same amount of time at the back end of the week too, just to simply stop and take stock of how well you either executed on the list or any areas that you missed? And I'm going to sneak in one last question though too, because the idea of be one of a kind and never miss a moment. What is the power of you having this mission statement in your life? What does it allow you to maybe do because you have this mission statement?
Well, I mean, if anybody's watching on YouTube, it says be one of a kind right by me. It's like ever present. Like my t-shirts say be one of a kind.
Yeah.
What, just as those two things they're ever present in my everyday. It just keeps me focused, right, on what is my calling in life. Like I really believe that, like from a financial planning standpoint, it's what I'm meant to do. And I'm meant to talk about it I'm meant to meet with people to help hear where they are and help them from a financial planning standpoint, and really listen to where they are, and then encourage them to be one of a kind, and then help them to realize that their money is what allows them the freedom to go do the things that they've always wanted to do. By those two things being ever present and always at the front of my mind, I don't drift. I'm not a sailboat, right? Yeah. That's moved by the wind. I am a motor powered run on two sayings, right? Be one of a kind and never. That's what drives me forward. Yeah. And by constantly having those in front, by having a personal mission statement, I'm not drifting. I'm moving forward, and I always feel like I'm moving in the right direction. I know that I need to stop and refuel every once in a while, refill my tank. But there's never a time I don't feel like I'm moving in the direction I'm meant to be moving.
I love it. I love the visual, the idea of just maybe having a couple of engines driving you, and there's these two sentences right there just fueling you all the way. Mike, this has been an absolute blast. I've really enjoyed this opportunity just to learn from you and really just get much deeper in terms of some of these ideas, some of these notions that support and reinforce the work that you're doing. But before I let you go, as always, just giving you the chance, as I do with every guest, just to let us know, where can we learn more about you? And maybe someone's listening to this and they're thinking, you know what, enough with the risk. It's time for me to start having a conversation about my future. Where can we learn more about yourself and obviously get in touch?
You can just go to my website. It's MikeMilligan.com. Mike, MikeMilligan.com. There you'll be able to connect with me and see what I'm doing. Like I'm an educator. I'm a planner. I'm an author. I've written a couple books, a third book coming out later this year on money, right? So if you're looking to have somebody teach you how to be exceptional, there's a whole lot better people out there than me to do that. But if you want to be exceptional with money, I teach a class at Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia called Personal Financial Planning. It's a 6-week course that's a beginner's course on how to take charge of your money. I have a lot of other avenues, that you can get involved with what we're doing. But I'd love to connect with other people. And thank you. And thank you for the conversation today. This has been absolutely exceptional.
There you go. You had to say it. You had to say it. We set ourselves up for exceptional, and it has. It's been nothing short of exceptional, Mike. I really have appreciated it. Just best of luck with everything in your world moving forwards, and thanks again for joining us. And my thanks again to Mike for joining us on this episode. The idea that I really want to reemphasize to you all is this idea of giving yourself time first before you give your time to others. Now, easier said than done, right? If my parents are listening to this, not my parents specifically, if you're a parent that's listening to this, you will probably listen to that and say, yeah, that would be nice, right? It would be wonderful if I could make time for me before I make time for my kids. If you're a business owner, yeah, sounds like a great idea, Mike. Sounds like a great idea, Steve. This idea of paying myself first with my time. I got all these clients. I got all these customers that I need to be taken care of. But let me ask you this. Can you wake up 15 minutes earlier? Can you protect your 30-minute lunch that you continue to work through every single day? Once a month, can you find just 1, maybe 2 hours that you protect to do that thing that you love doing more than anything? That sport, that trip, that walk, that show that you want to listen to, whatever it is. There's ways that we can protect our time, but it starts by making the time. And it starts by putting a value on that time to where we're willing to give it to ourselves. When was the last time that you can look at a week that's gone by and you say, I gave myself time for me? If you can't think of that right now, if there's not an obvious way you did that in the last week or two, then it might be time just to simply stop and say, hey, it's time I put a value on my time to where I'm giving myself at least some of it from time to time. Because there's no world where you would ever let a week or a month go by without getting paid. So how about we put the same value on our time as well? So again, my thanks to Mike for joining us, and my thanks to you, as always, for being a listener to this show. First-time listeners, if you've stayed with us up until this point, I really do appreciate it, but don't let this be the first and last time. Make it sure it's the first of many episodes that you get to listen to. Go ahead right now, subscribe to the show, and go back and download a whole bunch of other episodes as well. We've got almost 300 of them for you to choose from, so I don't know how you couldn't find something that wouldn't be appealing and fun for you to listen to. But in the meantime, folks, hey, as always, best of luck with anything and everything you've got going on in your world. I look forward to doing this again with you all very soon. Bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to GrowthReady. If you liked what you heard and are feeling ready to grow, be sure to leave a 5-star rating, subscribe to the show, and share the episode with someone you know is ready to fuel their growth journey today. We love our community, so don't hesitate to reach out to us at podcast@growthready.com. And until next time, we are Growth Ready, and you will be too.